Inosuke Hashibira. When you hear of Inosuke, you'll immediately think of his extreme looks. He has a boar head covering his face, incredible shirtless muscles, and two beaten-up Nichirin swords. Inosuke actually beats his swords with a rock on purpose to give it that distinct beat-up look, infuriating Kozo Kanamori from the swordsmith village. His boar head stands out so much, Kyojuro even called him Young Boarhead. It's practically his identity, but underneath is a very pretty face. On top of that, though he makes an impact with his boar head and massive attitude, he's actually the shortest of the Kamaboko squad, standing at only 164 centimeters. Today, we'll be discussing the eccentric Inosuke. We'll be looking into his name origins as well as his hobbies, so stay tuned till the end. Inosuke's origins. Inosuke came from Mount Odake. Mount Odake is a real mountain in Japan and is a popular hiking spot today. The mountain that gave Inosuke his wild personality is the same mountain that's well taken care of for hiking now. It's kinda unexpected. As for the difficulty, Mount Kumotori, the mountain Tanjiro grew up on, is the tallest mountain in Tokyo. The difficulty is definitely up there. If you put that into consideration, the entire Kamado family might have the lungs suited for the breathing styles. There are others in the Demon Slayer cast that are from the mountains. The Mist Pillar, Muichiro Tokito, came from Mount Kagenobu, and the Stone Pillar, Gyome Himejima, is from Mount Hinode. All of these mountains are in the same general area, and in Gyome's case, his mountain was so close to Inosuke's that they had a high chance of meeting. Inosuke's upbringing. Inosuke had a rough start in life, being abandoned in the mountains and being raised by boars. It's unclear why a boar would raise a human baby, but it was hinted in the extra edition that the mother boar may have lost a child. Without the mother boar, it would have been impossible for a baby to survive in the mountains alone. And the Inosuke we know and love wouldn't be fighting in the Demon Slayer Corps. The boar head that Inosuke is always wearing belonged to the mother boar. Even after her death, he continued to live in the mountains, testing his strength against other animals. At the end of Volume 10, we were shown scenes of Inosuke being surrounded by animals as the king of the mountains. This is where we come across an interesting question. Why is it that Inosuke has a full name when he was raised by boars? Let's find out. One day, Inosuke finds a house in the middle of the mountains. He starts to come and go, and each time he visits the resident grandpa, he learns words. Eventually, the grandpa finds the words Inosuke Hashibira on his diapers and tells him his name. It turns out that Inosuke was abandoned after receiving his name. Years later, Inosuke meets a demon slayer and tests his strength on him. He learns about demons and the Demon Slayer Corps and decides to join. He stole the Demon Slayer's Nichirin sword and used it during the final selection. Unfortunately, after passing the final selection, he left the mountain immediately, so he didn't meet Tanjiro nor Zenitsu. Inosuke's first appearance was at Kyogai's mansion. This was when he and Tanjiro had their fateful meeting. Inosuke's hobbies and favorites. In the official fanbook, he made clear Inosuke's favorite food is tempura, and his hobby is something called Kotoro. He fell in love with tempura when he had it for the first time at the Wisteria mansion and even used it for motivation during training. Now, his hobby, Kotoro. What exactly is it? Kotoro. Kotoro is a game from 1,300 years ago and is a game similar to Tag from the Heian period. This game starts by deciding on 3 roles: the role of the demon, the parent, and the child. The children make a line behind the parent by putting their hands on the parent's shoulders. The demon wins if they tag the child at the end of the line, so the parent has to move to protect the child. The demon also wins if the children let go of their parent's shoulders and cut off the line. If the children don't get tagged in 20 seconds, they win. It's interesting how they connected the demon in the game to the Demon Slayer story. It seems like Inosuke learned Kotoro from Tanjiro, but has anyone noticed how similar the game rules are to his upbringing? Kotoro is a game when the parent dies to protect the child. It's identical to Inosuke's situation where his mother, Kotoha, died to protect her son. Even the Koto in Kotoro sounds like his mother's name, Kotoha, the demon that killed Inosuke's mother, Kotoha, is a demon known as Doma. During the battle in the Infinity Castle, everyone fought a demon they had a connection with. This is held true for Inosuke, who fought Doma for his connection with his upbringing. Why did Inosuke choose to fight Doma? Inosuke always had a thing for testing his strength on strong opponents, even challenging Gyu after being beaten up. Even in the Infinity Castle, he ordered his crow to take him to the strongest demon, saying that his crow was on point when Doma appeared. At that point in time, the upper rank one, Kokushibo, should have still been around. He was supposed to be the strongest demon after Muzan. When looking back at the battle, all the demon slayers, be it coincidental or not, fought the demon they had a history with. Inosuke's hobby in the fan book was actually foreshadowing something. It's incredible what the creator thought though. Inosuke's hobby, Kotoro, his mother's name, Kotoha, and his mother's death by the hands of Doma. It's impossible to ignore his connection with Doma. Even Doma said that their meeting was a miracle. In the end, both Inosuke and Kanao managed to defeat Doma, avenging the deaths of all their loved ones. Inosuke's appearance and his character. Inosuke's muscular body and boarhead make a great impact, but under that head is an incredibly pretty face. Zenitsu was shocked when he first saw his real face, and even Daki, who only ate people who seemed pretty, acknowledged his beauty. With these looks, he craves for a good fight. On top of being raised by boars, he showed almost no signs of being human, stepping on girls, or not understanding the meaning behind burying the dead. However, on his journey with Tanjiro and Zenitsu, he slowly learns how to be human, showing his mental and emotional growth. Inosuke sometimes shows his fuzzy feeling. Whenever someone treats him nicely or thanks him, he gets a feeling he'd never felt before, calling it being fuzzy. Inosuke continues to go on missions with Tanjiro's group and joins them in the final battle. Even during the tense fight against a revived Muzan, Inosuke sees Sanemi and Gyu clash swords to make the bright red Nichirin sword and innocently yells that he wants to do it too. Even though he was shot down by Kanao then, his innocence and honesty are really his charming points. How did the interesting Inosuke spend his life once peace was obtained after Muzan's defeat? In the final volume, he went to the Kamado family's home in the mountains with Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Zenitsu. It looked like they worked together to live as the four of them. As for Inosuke, we find out when the story moves to the present day, when the world is more peaceful. Alongside Tengen's gymnast descendants and the siblings that are identical to Kanao and Tanjiro, we are introduced to a biologist, Yaiba Hashibira, who's identical to Inosuke. The newly introduced characters have names that are connected to their respective couples, like the Kamado siblings, Kanata, who is identical to Kanao, and Sumihiko, who's identical to Tanjiro. When putting that into consideration, we can guess that Yaiba Hashibira is, without a doubt, Inosuke and Aoi Kanzaki's descendant. There were several scenes that hinted at the couples to be in the series as well. Zenitsu and Nezuko, Kanao and Tanjiro, Obanai and Mitsuri all had their respective moments. But what about Aoi and Inosuke? I think Aoi had feelings for Tanjiro. She clearly had a moment when Tanjiro accepted her, even after she admitted she could no longer fight. Perhaps her feelings shifted to Inosuke after him coming over for treatment so many times, even though she was scolding him for most of that time. Perhaps her firm nature couldn't leave innocent Inosuke alone. Let's look at Inosuke's usual treatment at the Butterfly Mansion after Muzan's defeat. As usual, he steals food after getting hungry again. As usual, Aoi scolds Inosuke. She prepared him a tray of rice balls and other light snacks. Because he never experienced his mother's love, nor did he have much human interaction until he got older, he never felt human kindness or affection. Inosuke falling for Aoi, who gives him motherly kindness and scoldings whenever he needs them, makes perfect sense. That's all for Inosuke's introduction. Tanjiro and Zenitsu had a lot of foreshadowing scenes and plenty of episodes with their respective partners. But looking back, Inosuke's weren't as cut and dry. Even though Inosuke did a lot of questionable things, his honesty and innocence make it impossible to hate him. What do you think about Inosuke? Tell us your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll be uploading more amazing analysis videos soon. So, subscribe to get notified for the next one. We'll see you next time.